You are in the kingdom as a believer, there's a law of provision that we need to be aware of. And Jesus functioned primarily from this law because everything that he needed was provided for. And not only was he provided for, but he also provided for those who were around him and needed things. He even asked his disciples, when you went out to preach, did you lack anything? And they said no. Which means that the law that worked for him also worked for his disciples. Now, you and I, as we are here, you are a business person. You have to understand that you have a benefit, or you benefit also from the law of provision. But the unfortunate thing is that a lot of us do not know that law, and therefore we function from the hustle and bustle of the business world, the hustle culture that a lot of us are accustomed to, which is basically not how the kingdom would want for you to function. Because in the kingdom, you as a kingdom entrepreneur, you are functioning. Once you set your business, you are setting it on the premise of success. The very time you open your doors, the very first time you sell your product, you sell your service, you are doing it from the position of success. You then, along the way, you failed because you have not understood that you're already functioning from success, but you are trying to be functioning from success when you are already functioning from success. Here's the thing, success in every area of life comes in increment stages, which means it grows with your ability to manage what you are given. You are never showered with success or you have a storm of success. It comes in increment stages, and every stage that you move into determines the level of resources that are going to be given to you. And those resources are given to you by the kingdom, because you are in the kingdom. And because you are in the kingdom, you are the subject of the kingdom. And because you are the subject of the kingdom, you are a responsibility of the kingdom. So as you are a responsibility of the kingdom, it is the kingdom that needs to take care of you. And because it is the kingdom that needs to take care of you, therefore you and I need to know how to we position ourselves under the authority of the kingdom so that we could be provided for all the time. So now, the law of provision finds its expression on stewardship, which is a law on itself, on its own, which is in itself a law. If you violate stewardship, which is what a lot of us have been doing, if you violate stewardship, you cannot grow. If I violate stewardship, it means I cannot grow. How I steward will be how I grow. How I steward will be how I grow. But we have to first of all find out, or maybe give definition to what stewardship is, so that we have an understanding of where this talk is taking us. So, stewardship is the responsibility and stewardship is the responsible and accountable management of resources, of assets or interests entrusted to an individual or organization by another person. Stewardship means you meticulously pay particular attention to every detail. Stewardship means you pay meticulous attention to every detail. In John 6, when Jesus was feeding the crowds, he, after the people ate, instructed his disciples to take each and every piece of bread and piece of fish that was left over, so that there could be no waste. That's what he said. But then if we want to function from a position of provision, we have to also have a clear understanding that whatever resources we get are given to us because the kingdom has found us to be faithful in the list that we were governing over. Because the kingdom has found us to be faithful in the list that we have been governing over. So in your business, it is the Father who decides that you are going to grow based on your faithfulness in the smallest of things that were entrusted to you, based on the smallest, in my faithfulness in the smallest of things that were entrusted to me. Because if I violate that, if I violate the small things, how am I then going to be able to manage the bigger things? So now 1 Peter 4:10 says, each one has received a gift, or as each one has received a gift, minister it to one another as good stewards of the manifold grace of God. Then, here's the thing, in the kingdom, the gift that you receive, whatever gift it is, it could be the gift of speaking, the gift of management, the gift of being a visionary, whatever gift the kingdom has given to you, it always comes with resources. It always comes with the financial needs that you have, or the meeting of the financial needs that you and I have. So each and every gift, your being in business has already been resourced. Your being in business has already been resourced. The contracts are there. The projects are there. The clients are there. Whatever the resources, the machinery that you're looking for is there. Because in the kingdom, the gift comes with resources. But now those resources are given on the basis of one's ability to manage. Those resources are given on the basis of one's ability to manage. So if I am not able to manage what I am given, I will not be given over and above my ability to manage any resource. I will not be given beyond and my ability to manage above or my ability to manage. In Matthew 25, from verse 14 to 30, we see three guys. Jesus talks of three guys who were given talents, and each was given according to his ability to manage. One was given 1 talent, the other was given 2, and another was given 5. And all the others, they went and they were productive in what they did, and they multiplied the talents that they were given. So they came back, and the one who had 2 said, "Here's, you gave me 2, I've gained 2 more." Then the master said, he's happy, he said, "You've been faithful in the least, you'll be faithful in much." So it gives him an ability to manage 2 more. And so is the one who received the 5. He managed to get 5 more, and was given a territory that equaled his ability to manage. Now, the one who received the least of them all, he only had 1. He came and said, "Oh, my master, I know you to be a ruthless man, your rib where you did not. So I was so scared that I hid your talent, so that should you need it, you have it." And it says, "Here is what is yours." He gave him the talent without having had any profit on the talent. And the master was angry. You know the story. So each one was given on the basis of their ability to manage. You are given growth. You are given growth. I'm given growth in business on the basis of my ability to manage. Especially if you are in the kingdom. The kingdom will not give you beyond what you can manage. It will not. The kingdom, Jesus himself Jesus himself needed 12 guys and even more in order for him to be able to preach and reach other areas. So he needed to extend his net by introducing other guys to doing the very same thing that he was doing. So had Jesus decided that he was going to do this thing on his own, Jesus would have died, maybe having one converted 100 people only. But because he understood the value of one's ability to manage, that he can only be resourced according to that, he went and got 12 guys and he trained those guys. He trained them and he sent them out to replicate what he was doing. And not only that, he also trained other guys, about 72 of them, and he trained them to go and do the very same thing he was doing, to replicate. He could only go further than himself when he entrusted what he was doing to other people. So basically, he was more resourced when his ability to manage other things was in place. So even in business, you and I can only be resourced based on our ability to manage. Outside of management, there is no growth. There is no resourcing. So as a business person going in the marketplace, you will be going in there with the blessing, because the blessing is inherent. It is inside of you. It is not outside of you. Genesis 1:28 says, God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it, rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, and over every living creature that moves on the ground. So the first position that you and I need to be functioning in business or in our areas of influence is one, or the activity is one of being fruitful. So now, being fruitful means a lot of us, we look at our circumstances and then we let the circumstances decide on whether or not we are going to be fruitful. We look at situations and then we decide, the situations decide whether or not we are going to be fruitful. But in the kingdom, your and my fruitfulness is not subject to given circumstances. It is subject to awareness, because it says be fruitful. It did not say be fruitful when. It just said be fruitful, which means my being fruitful is determined and is up to me. So now, the fruitfulness is governed by awareness. The awareness means what abilities do I have? Because ability is a measure of your ability is a measure of how you are going to manage. So the ability, and also not just looking at the cognitive ability, your mental frame, how does it work? Because if that is incongruent with what you want to do and want to achieve, then you will not grow to the point where you want to grow. So ability, if we were to define ability, we would define ability as the position of mental, physical, and legal power required to perform an action, to complete a task, or to achieve a goal. That is what ability is. But ability also is undergirded and it is governed by one's attitude. If one's attitude is shaky, if one's attitude is bad, they will not be able to go any further than they are thinking, than what they want. They're going to be limited. So now, also what one needs to be aware of is skill. Skill is the ability to do an activity or task well, particularly because it has been acquired and developed through practice, training, or experience. So skill comes because of practice, it comes because of training, it comes because of experience. So therefore, in the kingdom, in order for you to be provided for, you have to have skill in the area in which you want to function, or you have to have any skill so that the Lord will provide for you through that skill. Through that skill, because if you do not have a skill in a certain area, or in any area for that matter, how is the kingdom going to provide for you? Because in the kingdom, miracles are for emergencies. Where there is an emergency, the miracle will kick in. But we rarely walk in miracles every single day, because see, everyday life is not an emergency. So now we need to develop skills that the kingdom will allow to that will use as a conduit to bless us. So once I have the skill, the application of that skill will bring growth. Once I have the skill, the resources will then come. Once I have the skill, then the kingdom will be able to provide for me whatever that skill is. A lot of us are not being provided for, not necessarily because we cannot be provided for, or that the kingdom hates us. We are not provided for because we are not having a skill, or we don't even want to try to develop a skill that the kingdom can connect to and be a blessing to us. So, and also the extent and field of you applying that skill determines the level of reward. So, the extent and field of application determine the level of reward. A skill is the ability to do an activity. We have already said that. A skill is an activity or task to do well, particularly because it has been acquired and developed through practice, training, or experience. Now, you must allow yourself time in your field to grow. Allow yourself time in your field. Soak in the field. Soak in the field. Know the ins and outs of where you function in the marketplace. Well, I know I'm speaking to the choir here. A lot of us do not allow for the growth process to take place, especially in this life now that we live in, where everyone there's this hustle and bustle culture that it's seeping into everyone's psyche, that you have to be busy all the time. You have to be pulling strings here and there all the time because you want to amass wealth as quickly as you possibly can so that you can retire young. Take time. Growth takes time. So allow for growth to take place, the process of growth to take place organically. Now, we also have to be aware, in order for the blessing to kick in, we must be aware of what needs to be changed and how it needs to be changed. Because in order for you to be able to make traction in life, you must be enterprising in a certain way. And that's enterprising simply means that you are providing solutions to a given problem. So now the question is, what solution are you bringing? What solution are you giving? So the thing is, what needs to be changed? Do know what needs to be changed and how it needs to be changed. If I'm stuck, I need to ask myself, what is it that you need to change? And how do you need to change what you need to change? Because if that happens, it will mean that I am not being fruitful. If I do not ask those questions, it means that I will not be fruitful and I will be working from guesswork. And guesswork means simply that I don't have mastery over the things that I do. It means that I'm not functioning from applied knowledge. And because I'm not functioning from applied knowledge, I will not be recognized. My father was on crutches. He had brittle bones, had dwarfism. But he functioned from knowledge. My father was a very smart man. And he functioned from applied knowledge, and not necessarily just knowledge. He functioned from applied knowledge. And when I was young, I can't remember what year it was, my father met with the Prime Minister of the then Transkei. And he was addressing the Prime Minister of Transkei then. And I think I must have been 12 years old when there was a rally in our area, a function where they were commemorating the death of some guys, community people who were fighting against the apartheid government. And there were dignitaries in that event, dignitaries and, politicians, and General Bandolo Misa was one of them. And my father was there sitting with them, and I was like, as a child, I wanted to go sit with him. And I was told, no, you're a kid. So he sat there, simply because of who he was. So what I'm saying to you is that if you and I want to trigger provision, we have to be aware of these things and also function from applied knowledge. Applied knowledge is basically stemming from the information that we have gathered or will be gathering along the way. Join us for part 2 on our next video.